Hey guys, how is everybody? Well, we're here back on Simple Man's little Husky 359 build. Getting ready to do the exhaust port. Thought I'd take you guys along. We may just kind of do a little series, or may just make it one video on setting the port heights of these ports and getting the shape that we want. This port's kind of oval to begin with. We're going to flatten it out slightly. What I've done, I've found the port height that I want, and I've got a piece of, it's actually just a piece of no sandpaper packaging, just cardboard. You can buy cord stock, do it that way, whatever you see fit, or you can just put a ring in the cylinder and mark it. It really doesn't matter, but I'm trying to get this one pretty dang precise, and I'm using the cord method in the cylinder. I've got it in there right now, and it kind of acts as a piston stop. I don't know how you're going to be looking at that, but it's just, I'm looking, if you look to the, it'll be your left of that pointer, you should be seeing like somewhere around 104, if you can make it out on that screen. I'll go the other way just to show that we are balanced out. And as you can see, it stops, acts as a piston stop, lets us know that we're still balanced out both ways. And we're going to go back to BDC, which is about there. I'm kind of looking around at this from a funky angle where I've got the camera pointed at it. So if you've seen something a little different, I do apologize, but I believe it'll come out and look close enough. I've got that set at about 104. I'd like to set the height of this around 103. Just clean up the uppers and change the angle on them slightly. Should put me in that 123 area is what I'm shooting for. It won't take much material at all to move it that far. And we're going to try to go around 77, 78ish on the intake. What I'll do is clean it up, lay a texture in it, flatten the floor of it, and then retime and see where I'm at. I think those will make some pretty good stout numbers. In all honesty, I could clean up the ports, widen them a little bit, put the saw back together with the muffler mod. We've already done the time in advance. Have a good strong running saw, no joke. But this is a, you know, just so if there's any newcomers that's not watched any of my porting videos, I'm not saying my way's the right way or the wrong way. It's just my way. There's a lot of different ways to do this. This is a simple, no machine work, base gasket delete port job. And you can make a good strong running saw by doing that. Will it run better with machine work? In most cases, yes, but not in every case, such as this. We've got, once it's glued and everything's said and done, it'll be a touch over 20 thousandths squish. You know, we may pick up a little bit if we had some material cut out of the squish band and then some cut back off of the base, but what little bit you would pick up just for this particular build's not going to be worth it. So we're just going to keep it simple on this one, guys. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to pull this off, which is going to be really easy to do because I'm just kind of holding it on there to show you guys where I was at. Give you guys a look at what's going on. Hoping I don't knock this new camera over. That'll suck. Hopefully you're getting a good look in there. We're not going to have to move it far to hit that timing number, but I am going to have to move the corners down quite some bit to square off the roof of the port. That's another debate for another day, square versus rounded. I like an oval port, but that one's kind of over exaggerated. We're going to pull the corners of it down some and flatten it out a little bit more than what it is. And in the process, you know, hit our timing number. I've got that set like at 104. once it's all said and done, clean up and polished and everything glued on, it should be sitting right around that 103 mark. If we're off a little bit, who cares? It's not really going to make or break the build. But I'll cut you guys off and we'll get set up over here at my other station and do a little grinding on this thing. I know not everybody's a fan of freehand porting. A lot of the pros say not to do it. You have to set it down on a table or some kind of jig to set it in, but guys, this is the way I've always done it. What I'm doing there is trying to bring down that oval. You see me cutting just out on the sides. And I really like that bit for this. It's really narrow. It's pointed out on the end. It lets you get into the corners. And it's a, you know, it's a real good high quality bit from CC Specialties. It does a really good job. I'm not sure how well it'll pick up in this slot, but just what little bit we cut there with that bit, and this is what we're using. I'm not sure what they call it, but I'm sure you could buy it from their site, or someone else mentioned. You could probably get online, find something similar, cheaper, but it's probably not going to be as high quality as that. You kind of get what you pay for in this game. We've cut down to our paper that quick, so what we'll do now is we'll go back over to the saw and I'm going to recheck the timing on it and see where we're at, and hopefully we can come back, do just a little bit of widening. I'm not going to do a lot. I've got a different bit on a different hand piece here that we'll use for that, and then we'll do some finish and polish work on this. Okay guys, so I've checked the port timing on the saw. I think I left the needle about right where it was at, but there's a lot of different ways to do this. I know 9 builders out of 10 will just eyeball it and call it good enough. I looked up stock port timing numbers on this saw on every forum out there. Every thread I came up with, there was a different set of numbers, and I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, eyeballing things, ray of light, you know, first slither of light, eyeballing the intake, looking through the exhaust plug hole or the freaking spark plug hole or the exhaust port and trying to eyeball the transfers. You're better off just setting a ring in or feeler gauges. You can see that's a pretty thin gauge. It's 10 thousandths. This is what I've got to what I've been doing here lately. I'll still look at it ray of light, but I prefer this. It's consistent, it's fast. I've got it trimmed back to where if I've got like an oval port design, I can set that gauge right in the center of the port. You know, it's pretty accurate, and let's face it, 10 thousandths, that's just barely cracked open. Airflow under compression on a 4-cycle engine, not a 2-stroke, starts at 50 thousandths. Most automotive camshaft makers such as Comp Cams or Lenati or Crane Cams, just to name some of the big ones, they'll measure port duration at 50 thousandths lift. That means that the intake or exhaust valve is cracked open 50 thousandths. Well, doing that on a 2-stroke, I've found, and I've done it every way in the world over the last 6 years, 50 thou is just a little too much. You end up with some really late exhaust port openings. I've checked it every way. It seems my ray of light, looking at it and measuring, is around 20 to 25 thou. But I figure doing it this way, it's kind of hard to screw up the build. And I've seen other builders, you know, check timing numbers and then come up with something once the saw's put together that's totally different. And I'm not saying my way's right or the next person's way is wrong, but it's just what I've came up with to where I can be consistent with this stuff. And I've got that dead in the center of that port, just the tip of that gauge, and if you're looking at that thing right to the left of it, you should be seeing about 104. If you come back the other direction, you should be seeing the same thing. I'll move it over here to where I can look. Yep, still 104. I'm sitting over here and the camera's to the left of me, so you know, you could see it at a different angle. It's kind of why I don't like videoing the pointer and the degree wheel. If I'm doing it here just myself, I'll make a reference line on something and degree it that way. And it also makes checking the transfers a little easier. Again, if you're eyeballing and doing that stuff, it's just fine, to each their own. But my saws always run the way I want them to, or the way I thought they were going to run. It's not very often I do one that doesn't perform the way I want. I had one here recently. It was a 350 top end. I meant to make another video on that, but there was some problems happening with that cylinder once the saw got hot and it was losing compression. So it's a lot of the reason it wasn't performing the way I thought it should have been performing. But anyone that follows me that remembers that, when I first started out, no. A piece of wire here, I think this measures about 20 thousandths. It's really thin. What I'll do is I'll go in and I'll feel for the uppers to crack and open. And again, you know, if you're eyeballing it and doing it that way and it works for you, or putting a ring in, which is what I'd really rather see someone do even over this, this just gets me a ballpark of where they're opening at. And we're looking at, again, 124 is what I'm looking at there on the transfers opening. If it looks a little different to you, you know, I do apologize, but that's what I'm coming up there with on that. But what we're going to do next is I'm going to pull this back off, and we're going to go over here and I'm going to widen each side just a little bit. I'm just going to make a few passes with a different handpiece and a different bit, and we're going to do some blend-in work, switch the cartridge roll and clean the port on up, and then we'll go into the polishing technique, which, you know, you guys have seen me do quite often on here, I guess. But this is for someone that's, you know, that's just run across the channel. Okay guys, we're back over here at the porting station. Most people have this, or it's readily available to them. And I'm just going to tell you, you can port the whole dang saw with this. You don't need this $1,000 Fordham setup. You can actually buy a knockoff Fordham setup cheaper than you can get the Dremel setup that I have. I kind of go overboard on things. I think the Dremel itself I bought was the biggest one they sell. I think it was about it was between 130 or 150 bucks. I'm not for sure. I've had it, yeah, it's probably 6 years now. I don't know how many saws it's ground on. The flex shaft is really inexpensive. It's an 1/8 inch. It fits, you know, this is actual Dremel bit, and it's a little about worn out. I've got a new one laying here somewhere, but tile cutter bit, I can't take credit from that. Old Hopper, I watch his channel a lot. Back when he was showing a lot of porting videos, I'd picked up on that several years ago and started implementing it. It allows you to get into the corners If you're doing your intakes and transfers with it, it leaves kind of a fine texture. You could probably even leave the texture that thing leaves, but I will tell you, it's really aggressive. Practice on something old with it, it can mess things up in quite a hurry. But we're gonna get started here. We tap the screen, make sure you guys can halfway see. I'm not trying to do an up close and personal. And all I'm doing right here is I'm just gonna lay these corners back a little bit, and that is it. I'm not gonna go overboard with it. And we'll bring that out. And it's not looking half bad. I'm not looking to go super wide, just looking to improve flow a little bit. I know most people are going to look at this and say, well, if I angle it and do this and that, it's going to help. It's the most helpful piece of advice I can give you. Don't go in and put a big steep slope on your exhaust roof. Don't put a big steep slope on the corners or the sides of the port, rather. It don't work. It just causes a lot of turbulence. There's a lot of other videos out there that can explain it a lot better than I can, but it just messes up airflow. That's the simplest way I can put that. We'll knock some off the other side now, and we'll put cartridge rolls on the other hand piece and go from there. I don't know how I'm going to do this to where I can see it and you guys can see it. I'm kind of way over here out of my big spotlight that I have. See what we got. And that bit cuts extremely fast. Just be very careful with it. This ain't a complete how-to, but maybe a guide to help somebody, I guess. That port's shaping up, not starting to look too bad. So at the point we're at right now, and guys, you can take this widening really far. There's a lot of area between here and the uppers. What you need to do is put something in the cylinder and go in and mark and measure exactly how wide that port is. And general rule of thumb on a work saw is usually around 65% of total bore diameter you can go to, but we're not going to push it that far on this one. It'll be pretty dang spicy as is when we get it back together. Just be a good all-around strong fast cutting saw, but you can push this stuff to the extreme, but we're not going to do that here. Okay guys, we're just going to do a little bit of cleanup work back with the Dremel. And I did have one of the knockoff Fordhams here, but I was cutting a muffler with it and broke the flex shaft, and it just is what it is. Mainly what I'm doing right here is knocking what's left of the carbon off. Really light passes, guys. Really easy to screw this stuff up. I mean, if you mess up and nick up the outer edge of the dang exhaust opening, who really cares? As long as it's matched going into your muffler, everything will be just fine. But we want it to look good. We don't want it to look like garbage either. Because in the end, this is another man's saw. And if you're porting for other people, take pride in what you do. I've really not had a complaint yet. Knock on wood. Mainly because I take my time and try my dangest to do things right. We'll take our air hose, hold your ears, or if you got earbuds in, I feel sorry for you. Get her cleaned out. She's looking pretty clean. I think I'm gonna get over here and take some carb cleaner to it just to make sure all the oil is out of there. And I've got a cartridge roll set up. We're gonna get a hold of that and see if we can make this thing look good. Alright guys, I hope you can see good. We're going to start some cartridge roll work on this thing. I'm just looking around to make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Around these things at a slow speed, guys, they'll last a lot longer. In the corner. I've said it in a lot of other videos, you can do the whole entire port with these if you're patient enough. And I have. Now there's going to be people say, well, so-and-so says not to square off ports. We're not completely square here. It ain't got any steep angles or sharp corners or anything, but it's squared, well, flattened would be a better word to use, off more than it was. In this particular situation, it will improve the flow of the exhaust port. See what we got going on here, guys. It's not looking too bad. I've got to get work on the floor of it some more, in the corners, but she ain't looking half bad. And here's everybody's favorite part of the job. We had a Karen a day or two ago. I've got a video that's it's okay viral, we'll put it that way. It's the 038 when we done it, or the 380, whatever you want to call it. I've had two different cylinders on that saw since that video. The second one I got wasn't any better than the first one, and we ended up getting a really good one on it, and then made one really strong 70cc saw, or 72, whatever it is. But yeah, she's a ripper. Anyway, made this big comment. Polish all you want, polish any port you want, it's not going to make a difference, not going to make a difference in performance. Look at how short the ports are. All I could do was laugh and say, man, we do it to keep carbon from sticking on the port, and let's face it, it just looks a little more professional, and that gives you something to be proud of, I guess, when you look at that big shiny exhaust port once you're done with it. But whatever, to each their own. I don't really get people today anyway. And if you don't know what I mean by the term Karen, just look it up. Basically, they're being a bitch. And if your name's Karen, I'm sorry. I mean nothing by it. I think this is 320 grit. We're going to step up to 500, and I think I've either got 1,000 or 1,500, and it'll leave a pretty nice finish, or, you know, it'll be good enough for this application. And when you go into the inside of that port, guys, it does break the edge. It does start with chamfer on it. This will knock down any imperfections. It'll get carbon that you might not have been able to get in the corners. This one actually had like some dark spots in it, like burn spots. I don't know what was up with that, but just be hot spots in the casting, I guess. Again, hold your ears. She's not looking half bad, and that's just our first step in the polish. You could just leave it there and be okay, to be brutally honest with you. She's looking like glass, guys. Final step we're going to do on this one, guys, 1500 wet or dry. You could probably put some soapy water or some WD-40 or something in there. And I ain't going to lie, it would help. It would give it just a little bit more of a flashy finish, I guess. But, it's already pretty daggone split. That guy's comment, it was kind of comical though, while it was like glass. He said something about ricers needing, I don't know, basically polishing came from ricers. All you can do is laugh at that stuff. I left the comment up if you guys want to go check it out. Most of you'll know what video it's on anyway, but some people just blow my mind. But that's about it. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to clean this back up. We're going to get back over to the other station. We're working on the saw and get our not quite final port timing number, but you know, before our glue. The glue's not really going to change or make or break the timing number, but we'll go get our timing number on it. Okay guys, I thought I would give everyone a look at this over here on the new camera. It may not be a difference at all, I don't know, but see if we can get the, some guys can do this and get that shine and that polish. I ain't one of them. I'll catch a frame or two out of everything I do that kind of does it and works, but right there, she's looking pretty daggone, as Simple Man said, like chrome. That chrome don't get you home though. That's what I've always been told. Anyway, redneck humor there. Pretty good looking port. Like I said earlier, you can take the width of that a lot further. As you can see, it's a lot more flat than it was. I wouldn't exactly call it square on the corners. And I usually take a pretty large half 4-out cartridge roll and I'll go in and do my chamfer that way. I know guys like to use a little bitty tiny diamond ball. It just ain't for me. I'll do that with the roll, and then I'll take some 400 or 500 grit. I think 500 is what I got over there, and I'll go over that until I don't feel a thing and it's just a smooth transition. And you need to feel those edges. Don't just trust your eyes, feel the edges. If anything feels sharp at all, take your sandpaper and knock it down. The last thing you want to do is spend, you know, several hours on this and then hang a ring or scuff up your piston just because you didn't take your time and knock down the burrs and the edges of the port or chamfer or whatever you want to call it. It all means the same thing. But next thing I guess we're going to do is drop this thing back on the saw and recheck our final port opening on it. Alright guys, we nailed our port timing. It's just a touch before 103. I'm gonna call it 103. That's exactly what I was shooting for, and I did go ahead and take sandpaper to the base of that cylinder before I put it back on there to get that final reading. I don't think glue will change that at all. That'll probably be it for this particular video. It's probably longer than it needed to be, but hopefully maybe it helped somebody. And you know, again, this is one of those cases where we are going to be able to build a good strong running saw without any kind of machine work at all, with just a simple base gasket delete and some port work to our ports on the cylinder. The transfers, honestly, there ain't a lot to be done there, so, and not a lot on the intake either. So what we'll probably do in the next video, we will more than likely do the intake and transfers together in that one video, and you know, call it a wrap on this build, and hopefully you guys get to see it running. Honestly, that may be in a couple of weeks. We're about to leave out and go on vacation. I'll probably have already left before this even comes out. I'll probably schedule it to come out during the weekend, and you know, if I get to get in here tomorrow evening and finish the port work up on it, hopefully those videos will just be scheduled a day or two after, and then, you know, a startup video or something. But I really don't think I'm going to get the saw finished and get it running before we leave, but time will tell. We'll just have to see. It's the middle of the week and we're heading out early Saturday morning, and just in case someone thinks they want to show up and try to rob all of my saws, again, redneck humor. Really mean German Shepherd, really mean mother-in-law house watching. and I have cameras everywhere. Again, just redneck humor, but I keep everything under lock and key anyway, and live in a pretty good neighborhood. I'm not gonna say there's not any theft, but usually most of the people around here are too strung out or too lazy to steal anything, and that's the brutal truth about it. But I'll come back and half of my saws will be gone after saying that. Hopefully they don't get this one. But anyway, all that's just a joke. I'm not worried at all. Do have the mean German Shepherd and the cameras and the mean mother-in-law, all of that. But anyway, I hope this helps somebody. We should get to the next video shortly. Everybody stay safe out there, and y'all try to have a good day.